Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com and we'll take a look at them a little bit later on. So, today's deck list was built specifically to troll me because it contains a bunch of the cards that I just hate. And I respect the hustle. This is another deck list from Matt H, who just named this deck Gallagher's Nightmare. I have gone on record many times saying that I think Kroxa is a big old pile of stinky poo-poo. Look, those are my thoughts on the card. I just think compared to Uro, this card is so weak. Forcing your opponent to discard or lose life is so much worse than like the life gain and card advantage you accrue by playing your own Uro. Not to mention that red, black, just logistically speaking, often ends up being much harder to get than blue, green, just kind of due to how the deck lists often end up being built. Because a lot of times the decks that would want Kroxa end up wanting a third color or end up wanting colorless lands. So why are we playing with this today then? Well, we're also playing with some other cards that I don't really like and usually don't play with. We're gonna play with Dress Down today. So Dress Down causes creatures to lose all abilities, and this is gonna do something interesting as far as this deck list goes. We are going to attempt to play a Dress Down or Torpor Orb, and use that to ignore the trigger from a Phyrexian Dreadnought, and just have a 1-mana 12/12 that we can cheat into play. Alternatively, if we can get a Death Shadow into play, and we remove its ability from it, it can just be a 13 power attacker much earlier than it normally is. Normally, we need to go and take a bunch of hits to our own life total, usually with cards like Watery Grave or Thoughtseize, in order to get to that to the point where it's playable. And in addition to this, we also have a way that we can play these things from Graveyard. So, for example, on turn 1, we can play a Phyrexian Dreadnought, turn 2, play a Lazav, and then on turn 3, activate its ability for 1 to turn it into a Phyrexian Dreadnought. Since it's already in play, it doesn't care about the enters the battlefield triggered ability of Phyrexian Dreadnought. So this is kind of the overall plan of the deck list. We can also use a Stifle on our Phyrexian Dreadnought trigger to kind of get it into play that way. Holding the rest of the deck together is Brainstorm, as well as the very powerful Expressive Iteration, and there's a couple of other cute interactions in the deck list, such as casting a large Toxic Deluge, which lowers our life total, making Death Shadow in turn better. As far as the sideboard goes here, a little sketch. There's a lot of cards that are very cute and situational. Baleful Mastery is something that I've played in the past alongside Sholdred, where the opponent drawing a card is actually an upside for you. I'm not sure if it's really worth paying 2 mana and giving an opponent a card to exile a creature or planeswalker by Legacy standards, but like, it's a very flexible card. We'll kind of see how it feels in action. There's a couple of narrow but strong sideboard cards here as well. Alright, this is the first time that we're playing Stiflenought on the channel in a very long time. I think the Stiflenought guy has finally kind of shut up, so I'm willing to give the deck list a go again on stream, or on YouTube, I guess. So let's see how it fares today. If you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing for more, and if you're a regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It's one of the easiest ways to support my content for free. Let's see if Kroxa can do anything today. Let's battle. Okay, my opening hand has 1 land. It has a Brainstorm to try and hit more land drops. I'm not sure that this hand's actually capable, though. Like, I can keep it and attempt to stifle an opposing fetch land rather than, like, stifle a Kroxa on 3 mana. But this hand's pretty unexciting. It's going to be very bad versus Wasteland. In a lot of ways. I think I would rather mulligan this one and try to find something with something closer to a plan. And this doesn't have a plan, but I think this is the keep. I think I keep this one pitching Force of Will. Just hard to go down 2 cards here after an opening hand this week. And we try to fix it with Brainstorm on turn 2, and then hopefully do something like Dreadnought Stifle, Dreadnought Dress Down on turn 3. Alright, goodbye, Force of Will. Hello, Thoughtseize. Force of Will, pitching Brainstorm, sure. Are we playing against, like, a Show and Tell deck, maybe? Oh, we're playing against a Death Shadow deck. Okay. I need to play my fetch land free Brainstorm so this Brainstorm doesn't get dazed, and I am willing to do this at sorcery speed. Okay, I mean, I have something that I can attempt next turn. I'm just going to throw back 2 lands here. My opponent's been sitting here at end step for a little while, so I think they're trying to decide whether or not they want to cast a Brainstorm. I am correct. I think while Stifle is not a concern, I'm actually just going to fetch here. And I think I'll just keep my life total high and grab a Volcanic Island. I don't think I need to work on turboing my life total down against an opposing Death Shadow deck when I don't have any of the Death Shadow cards in my own hand currently. So my opponent doesn't immediately get to shuffle with the Brainstorm. They have to take at least one of these cards. And that's a fast shuffle. Oh, are you stuck on lands? That's real bad. You are stuck on lands. Okay, given that I just drew a second Phyrexian Dreadnought, I'm actually going to play Dress Down at my opponent's end step and then play both on my next turn. And I am just going to fetch around a Stifle here again while I can. Badlands for variety is fine, then I can't be wastelanded off of any one color. That's really awkward. My opponent just Thoughtseizes me and takes the Dress Down, but if I cast it, it goes away at the beginning of the next end step. I'll accept that and play Expressive Iteration. That's a massive punish for my hand here. That's super, super unfortunate. Okay, what land do I need to leave up after EI? Looks like black. Blue-black is what I should leave up. We'll cast an EI like this. This is a superb Force of Will target if I have one. Alright, Dress Down goes to hand. Send back 1 land. We'll put 1 land in exile. Play this land. I now get end of my opponent's turn Dress Down into double Dreadnought. First of all, how dare you? That's really annoying. I probably shock myself this time. Get a Steam Vents, pay that life. Find cycling this into a different card to just get a little bit deeper. Last time around I was protecting an EI. Sure. So my opponent can then effectively get another land drop out of that and potentially deploy a Death Shadow. Okay, I mean, this is great for me. So I will play a Phyrexian Dreadnought and attempt to stifle the trigger on my creature. Alright. So now I have to sacrifice the Dreadnought to itself. My opponent having the double Thoughtseize is on the exact times where I was trying to set up a 2-turn line was incredibly punishing. And now they have Murktide Regent as follow-up. That's brutal. Yep. So I got beyond punished for choosing to take a very strong 2-turn line instead of like just jamming a card into Daze and every other counterspell. That is unfortunate. So, I feel like I'm going to be working harder than my opponent. Backlash is cute. It's so mana intensive versus like Stifle and Stubborn Denial and such. I don't know that I really want Toxic Deluge. Just the worst Death Shadow deck here. I probably don't actually want Force of Will. That clears up a lot of slot. You give me 3 Pyroblasts for Murktide Regents. And then I can basically be thinking about these 4 cards. Fiery Confluence is a lot of mana for a burn spell. I think I'm not going to mess around with that. Play Backlash and Baleful Mastery, and maybe on the game where I'm on the draw, I play the Plague Engineer as well. This hand tries to do cool things with Lazav. Not super excited about it, but I think I'll keep it. I think I'm going to play similarly to last time around, where I try to keep my life total high-ish to start off the game. And I think I do just want to play this out. So the reason that I'm willing to play this out here is just kind of for the sake of my curve. So on my turn 3, I can attempt, like, Zav activate, crash in. If it doesn't work, I still reanimate around a daze. But I don't do if I wait on it. Ponder's fine. And no shuffle there. My opponent's now randomly pausing. I'm not sure exactly what's up with that. Grab a volcanic island and jam my Lazav. Okay, there is a daze. We'll attempt to reanimate it in a minute. Alright, so opponent is going down to 13 here. I have quite a few options for how to play my turn. What is your land count over there? I think I want to play a Dazable EI here. An attempt to reanimate my Lazav. Pyroblast or Kroxa to hand? Probably Kroxa, given how many lands that I do have. Kroxa to hand, Pyroblast to bottom, Exile Swamp, play Swamp. There's also Street Wraith that I could reanimate, but I think Lazav is better. So let's attempt that. I wouldn't be surprised if my opponent has Surgical Extraction here, given that they randomly did some pausing. I did not successfully bait the daze with my EI. Opponent is down to 11. There's Death Shadow. Really wish this Baleful Mastery was just a regular removal spell, not one that was going to cause my opponent to cantrip. I have to play the Baleful Mastery first? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Okay, I did take out the Death Shadow. Okay. Front side resolved, but again, the front side is not particularly strong. Like, Kroxa chilling in my graveyard is nice. I can play it around a daze next turn, but definitely just scared of my opponent having multiple threats or a Murktide that just outclasses this, like, very handily. Drunk. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tempt Kroxa. Again, this is just taking the worst card out of my opponent's hand. I probably don't beat these cards in combat. I definitely don't. My opponent can take 3 here. Going to 5. These are 8/8s. It's not technically lethal. If I don't block, I die to Street Wraith. If my opponent attacks with both. I think I am just supposed to take this hit, though. Yeah, I'm basically dead. So, like, I can attack, and my opponent blocks, discards a card, takes no damage, and I'm dead on the backswing, or I'm forced to chump block with Kroxa, at which point I probably don't win anymore. I'll play towards trying to win, but I'm dead to a Thoughtseize, I'm dead to a Street Wraith, I'm dead to a fetch land, I'm dead to a shock land. I don't think I play a land here. I think I try to play towards a Brainstorm Hail Mary next turn. I don't know. Maybe I need to play out the land so that I can Kroxa while still doing something else, though. I think I'm just the worst version of the deck here in the mirror. Yep, okay. So now I am dead on board. That's 10. So I will concede. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Moxfield is a deck building website, but it does more than just that. I've got the collection tracker pulled up today, and you can keep track of which cards you do and don't own, so that you'd never have to worry about, hey, do I actually own this card? Did I actually buy this? And if you're not scared of large numbers, you can also take a look at the total estimated value of those cards as well, and realize exactly how much those EDH decks are worth. This is a very strange opening hand, where, like, I can't do anything immediately, but I have a ton of card advantage. If we're just playing against a fair deck, like, it's totally fine keeping this hand. And if we're playing against an unfair deck, I'm dead before I play a relevant card. Opponent's a fan of the channel and said some nice things. Please don't cast Dark Ritual. That's not Dark Ritual at all. White Plume Adventurer? Fuck, alright. Yeah, that's bad. Down smash indeed, my friend. Down smash indeed. Life's pretty bad. I've got a Stifle that I can use to stop the initiative, maybe. But if my opponent can play it this turn, not so much. Also, Expressive Iteration not looking great versus Archon. Oh, they are the red-white version of Initiative Stompy. Alright, I'm at 18. Oh, fuck, it's Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Fuck. Alright. Is there a world in which I can still win? Like 9 next turn. I play Bloodstained Mire. Tapped this turn. I play Toxic Deluge for X equals 3, going to 6. Trap puts me to 1. Fetch lands leave me dead. I think I'm dead. Ugh. I'm gonna concede here as to not. Well, I actually could stifle an initiative trigger? I can stifle an initiative trigger. Fetching basic island here. Hold on, I do have a basic mountain, right? Okay, I do have a basic mountain. Let's stifle that trigger to buy some time. Whatever happens here, happens here. That's a 4th mana. So, oh, actually, I didn't account for the increased toughness in doing my Toxic Deluge math. I can't Deluge for 5. That's just not happening. So I guess I could... fuck. I play Dress Down into Dreadnought. I can block one of these, take 9, not counting Trap. Fuck. Alright. Torpor Orb is good here. Backlash, Fiery Confluence, Plague Engineer, Baleful Mastery are technically playable. I have a decent assortment of effects here, and like I even kind of reanimate an opposing creature that I've dealt with. But like the hoops that I am jumping through for Kroxa are so large compared to the hoops that my opponent is jumping through to make their Caves of Chaos Adventurers or Seasoned Dungeoneer or whatever. Probably need the Force of Wills. Like I Force of Will a thing, and then I play like a Torpor Orb or a Dress Down to buy time. Stifling initiative triggers are good. Some of this other stuff is bad, but I don't really know what I would cut for it. I cut the Lazav. I don't know that I want to do that. This hand doesn't do anything in this matchup. It's too slow. I need like turn 1 shit. This is a keep. I think I pitched the secondary Stifle. And now I can choose Thoughtseize or Stifle. I think I'm going to go with Thoughtseize. I still have Force of Will as a backup. I'm not going to play towards Death Shadow immediately. Let's just get Underground Sea and see where this goes. Oh, my opponent's hand is incredibly bad. We'll take the Caves of Chaos Adventurer here. March of Otherworldly Light is a white removal spell, just kind of in case you're not super familiar with it. I wrote an article that's not live yet, but will be live by the time this video goes live, just kind of talking about how this card and other cards like it might be pretty reasonable ways to try and fight against the initiative. Do I Brainstorm here? As long as I can Brainstorm and hit another land, it's really good for me. I can then Stifle this land, but I think I need to hit my land drop given that I have double Expressive Iteration in hand. Fuck me. Okay. Oh, we have an awful lot of nothing going on for a while. So the Stifle has now become Force of Will fodder. Yep. Just tiny misplay on my opponent's end. I believe you are supposed to fetch in response to my Brainstorm on my turn. Because if I just like naturally make a non-fetch land drop, it's super awkward. If I draw this, I draw a crap card next turn as well. And then hopefully I draw a land. My opponent's hand is very bad right now, but I'm not countering that. You can have that. I'll take some beats from this Simian Spirit Guide. It'll put me closer to actually making Death Shadow into a card. Puts me to 15. Okay, opponent has flooded out here. Land. Do I just want to Dreadnought and Stifle here with multiple Force of Wills as backup? Probably. I think it's even worth fetching Steam Vents here. Actually, this isn't multiple. Or no, it is still multiple Force of Wills backups. I have 5 blue cards in hand. JK. Alright, Dreadnought. Stifle the trigger. Alright, there is a March of Otherworldly Light. Obviously, I'm planning on countering that. This isn't a real removal spell for my stuff as of right now. That is a lot of mana. That's really unfortunate for my opponent. The Dreadnought is crashing in for most of my opponent's life total. They are at 5. I don't really know that I need to brainstorm here. I think I'm just going to go ahead and play a small Death Shadow and call that good. And then I have some flexibility in kind of what I choose to do. Alright, nice. I feel like we got a little bit lucky there. Alright, do I want, like, the Plague Engineer or the Backlash over some other card here? Not really. They're okay. Okay. This hand is probably a mulligan on the draw, whereas it would probably be a slam dunk on the play. Like, if my opponent just plays a turn 1 creature, my Thoughtseize and Stifles don't actually interact with the board meaningfully at all. This produces a creature on turn 3 that is on par with what my opponent will be doing, and is very good if my opponent doesn't play a turn 1 initiative thing. I'm going to keep this. I need... Well, I guess I don't need 3 lands. Okay. I'll keep the Brainstorm in case my opponent does resolve a turn 1 initiative card. I'm hoping they can't. I don't think it's worth mulliganing deeper than just this for a Force of Will specifically. Okay. That's not as bad as it could have been. Like, if that was a White Plume Adventurer, I think it's game over. My opponent has some real choices here. If I were in their spot, I would probably just name Scalding Tarn. And they agree. I can't Thoughtseize. So this is Bulk Pass. And I really hope that I don't have to Brainstorm looking for Force of Will this turn. Like to wait as long as possible to cast this Brainstorm. But if my opponent fires off an initiative card, I have to cast this Brainstorm. There's just no choice. Alright. Yep. We're dead. I believe literally? I guess I can cast the follow-up Brainstorm technically and try to find another land, but if I miss on the land with Brainstorm, I am literally just dead. Because there's at least 8 onboard damage, not counting Forge and Trap. So we take 3 this turn. Forge ticks up, and then it's 10 damage twice, not counting Trap, and I'm dead. So let's see if I hit a land right here, because I'm dead if I don't. Maybe should have phrased that differently. GG's. We got absolutely overpowered. Okay, this hand doesn't quite do anything on its own yet, but it has multiple Thoughtseize effects and an expressive iteration. I think I'm just going to call this good enough and keep it, although I'm not really excited about the hand. Well, the matchup is not unexpected, but that hand is really good. How do I want to fight this? I can fight this by taking the Ponder and just trying to stick my opponent on mana. If I do that, my next Thoughtseize trades with Flusterstorm, and I'll die to a top-decked Ancient Tomb, or otherwise 2 lands. I don't think I like the sound of that. I think I'm going to take the Show and Tell here. That leaves my opponent with Sneak Attack as a way to get the Grizzlebrand into play, but assuming that I find a window to cast Thoughtseize, I can take this Sneak Attack. So they are just fetching to hold up Fluster. That's fine. Do I bait Fluster with EI? Or do I just trade Thoughtseize? I think I bait it with EI. And if EI resolves, I'm just good with that. I'm not going to get the, 2 cards worth of value out of it. It's just a strong selection spell. Yeah, that's fine. Bait successful. Okay, there is a top deck land. Now my opponent can Ponder. They presumably did that with that sequencing to play around Daze. I need to find a threat soon-ish. No shuffle there. Toxic Deluge probably not great in this matchup. I'll play a fetch land here and hold the Womp in hand. I could take the Grizzlebrand here. I don't think that's really viable, though. I have to take this Show and Tell. Because an Omniscience getting into play just allows my opponent to absolutely rip through their deck as soon as they draw a single cantrip. Yeah, that's the card that I was afraid of being on top. Oh, they're going to play around Daze. Sick! Nice, nice. So let's cast this EI. Okay. Put an EI to hand. Dreadnought can go to library. Scalding Tarn to exile. Play Scalding Tarn. I'm not going to cast this EI this turn. Because I can't get, like, both Force of Will and blue card to stop the sneak attack from getting into play. But I'm in trouble here. So that resolves. I think I'm functionally dead next turn. Not literally dead, but functionally dead. Let's lead on Brainstorm and see what I can make of this situation. Nothing from here. Deluge and Swamp can go back. I'm going to fetch, and I'm going to shock myself, I think. I'm already dead to 2 Grizzlebrand hits, so, like, I'm not changing the matchup in that capacity. Try to be mana efficient and Brainstorm here rather than EI. Thoughtseize is not bad. Go back Dreadnought and 1 land. Make a land drop. Fetch. Grab the Blood Crypt. Go to 8. Trying to aggressively take down my life total here. Force of Will, pitching the Omniscience is rough. Not dead, but I can't do this fetch. So, I'm pretty sure Grizzlebrand draws 14 cards, and I die. There's the first 7. There's a fetch. Find the Emrakul. Oh, we found Intuition for Emrakul. Okay. Yep. And at that point, I will go ahead and concede. GG's. Ugh. So Pyroblasts are reasonable here. I think that's all I'm boarding. Like, I don't think I want to go this route. Deluge is clunky. Reanimate feels pretty slow and inconsistent here. I think the same is true of Lazav. That gets me these cards. Consider Torpor Orb, I guess. Press down pitches to force, though. Let's call this good. I could technically board in the Baleful Mastery for a Grizzlebrand that gets into play, but I think I'm trying to stop it from getting into play. Okay, I am not excited about this hand. I'm not throwing it back. The primary issue here is that, like, I'm not going to be progressing towards a win. So while I can disrupt my opponent pretty strongly, I don't have any way to keep hitting my land drops. I don't have any way to put a win condition into play. And I'm also going to take myself off of 1 color here. I probably need blue-black mana here, despite the fact that I have Pyroblast in hand, so this is going to be Watery Grave. I'll work towards making a Death Shadow good. Like, come on. Do I take the Brainstorm? Probably take the Brainstorm. It's awkward, but Brainstorm is basically a counterspell for Thoughtseize as far as the stuff that I'm concerned about goes. Keeps my opponent from hitting additional land drops, which maybe gives me time to find something relevant. Oh. Can trade Thoughtseize for Fluster here. Really think I want to make that trade right now. When I get closer to having to just, like, discard to hand size or something, I'll make that trade. But I'm not ready yet. Okay, now I'll make the trade. Alright, there's the Fluster. I have 3 ways of answering a Show and Tell as of right now, so I think I'm theoretically safe. Alright, let's see if they rip another land to cast a Show and Tell. It would be cool if they didn't. Kappa. Alright, Show and Tell number 1. This has to be Force of Will, pitching EI. I have no other choice. Fantastic, and now I Thoughtseize the next Show and Tell out of hand. Very cool, Kroxa. You are a great card, as always. Oh gosh, a Hydroblast. That is very good to be aware of. I'm so at the mercy of the top of my opponent's deck. Cool. Fire Blast has been upgraded to a do-nothing spell. See if I Brainstorm lock myself. I did not. I'm very much not ready for Dreadnoughts, although not like I want to keep double Kroxa either. So let's do Delta Pass, and my opponent can find a Show and Tell or Sneak Attack, and I will die. Not today, it looks like. So let's fetch. We grab Steam Vents here. There's another land drop. Do I want to Brainstorm prior to playing Kroxa? That's probably fine. That's probably fine. Dress Down and Stifle. Pyroblast is just, like, not gonna do stuff while Hydroblast is around. I guess I could not play Kroxa this turn and just play Dreadnought. Put my opponent on a clock. Sure. Not the biggest fan of this situation. Sneak Attack for Grizzlebrand is also killing me. Well, I guess Emrakul is also just killing me, so, like, life total be damned, I guess. Alright. There's a Dreadnought. There's a Stifle on the trigger. Fully at the mercy of my opponent's deck. My opponent's deck is, luckily for me, a total scumbag as of right now. Alright, opponent goes to 8. I will play a Kroxa, forcing my opponent to discard a card. Discarding a land. And I'll put the Death Shadow into play. I have 2 different lethal threats. See if they top deck the win. They didn't. Very nice. So I'm not so much on answers to defense grids. Like, I don't think I want to board in Fiery Confluence, for example. So I think I'm just running it back. Possible. I want the Baleful Mastery on the draw here. But again, I think if a Grizzlebrand gets in play, like, the draw 7 just beats me. I'm not happy with this hand. Like, 1 Force of Will isn't beating my opponent. I have no ways to do pressure, no turn 1 play. I'm going to keep it, but I'm just very unhappy with this entire deck. I just feel like everything that I'm doing is so slow. My opening hands aren't really strong. Okay. That helps a lot. Like, a lot. I don't really expect this Thoughtseize to effectively resolve, but I'm absolutely firing it off in an attempt. Yeah, and this is what I mean. Like, either it literally gets countered with a Fluster, or you just Brainstorm and hide your best stuff on top, and I play the guessing game of what is going to be most damaging. Okay. Of these, it's hardest for me to beat Force of Will. This is somewhat conditional, this is somewhat conditional. I'll take the Force. Like, I can take the Daze there, and then maybe Strand Force in play some portion of the time. Do I trade this for Daze? I think I do. It also could trade for Pyroblast. Alright, Daze is gone. Fence Grid is in play. I have no real way to win the game right now. My opponent doesn't have any real way to win the game either. Ah. So this is where we're at, huh? We're relying on a Kroxa. Okay. Steam Vents. Shock myself. And attempt Kroxa. Opponent has discarded an island. Okay, sure. My opponent's not Pyroblasting me here. So this is an okay time to just EI. Put a Death Shadow into hand. Land on the bottom of library. Death Shadow in exile. Fetch. Grab Blood Crypt. Shock myself. Play Death Shadow. I have a 5/5. That's pretty good as far as threats go. And we've done some dodging here. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. I will crash in for 5. Opponent goes to 12. And then I can decide how I want to do this. I can hold up Force of Will with 3 mana, but that runs into Pyroblast, so I'm not sure if I actually want to do that. Or I can just put my opponent dead next turn. I guess, in theory, with Dress Down, my opponent is already dead, so I'll hold up Force of Will. I want to hold around Force of Will with Daze back up. I also can just force discard here. My opponent discards the Pyroblast. Go Intel plus Pyroblast, sneak attack. I probably just hold up here. Playing around days. Then at end step, I can do this and turn this into a 13/13 creature. Or no, I can't actually. Defense grid cost. Do it on my turn. Sure. Do I have exactly 3 of these lands? Blood Crypt, Steam Vents, Water Graves. Okay, so I can't shock again. So this is 6. Kroxa's not lethal. I guess I'm going for Dress Down. It'll cost my opponent Lotus Petal plus Pyroblast. Okay, yep. They know what's up. Okay. Oh, it is Red Elemental Blast. They showed me Pyroblast earlier. I will fetch here. Grab some random land. Opponent goes to 4. I'll put a Death Shadow into play. Kroxa, you're doing great work. You're doing great work, Kroxa. Keep it up. With a Ponder being cast, life's pretty tough for my opponent. Because I know they have Pyroblast. Yeah. Okay. Feel like we got a little lucky there. GG's. Okay. What is this? Round 4. Is probably an acceptable opening hand. It's not overly exciting, but it probably gets to make a decent sized Death Shadow with Kroxa as a backup plan. Alright, we are probably playing against a control deck of some nature. But no, it's not the worst draw. It's not really exciting right now. I want to Swamp Thoughtseize. Get blue-red with this. Wasteland's pretty brutal if I do that. But I do want to be lowering my life total as quickly as possible. Alright. That doesn't play Thoughtseize. Well, that was stupid. Yeah, so Swamp Thoughtseize was the line there. Sorry, I got kind of lost in the sauce. If I get wastelanded and just, like, immediately lose the game for doing that. Classic. Alright, I'll Brainstorm. Daze, sure. Dress Down's not great, but it is a blue card for Force of Will, so, like, there's that. We're probably playing against, like, a Stoneforge Mystic deck. Yeah. Ugh. So, do I take the Stoneforge Mystic that I'm scared of in kind of the short term? Do I take the Brainstorm that lets my opponent find their land drops, or do I take the True Name that I have almost no answers to in my entire deck? I think the answer is the True Name. I can Force of Will the Stoneforge Mystic, doing that my opponent just like brainstorms into a land drop, and try to do something cool from there. Brutal. I'm at 15, so I'm not really in appropriate Death Shadow range. Death Shadow is also kind of rough versus the Swords to Plowshares deck. If I hit a land drop, I can just play a Dress Down in response to a Stoneforge Mystic. Although, like, they just do naturally have the Batter Skull in hand. Ponder. Thank you, Kroxa, as always. Your service has been very good. You are a valuable Magic the Gathering card. Anyone would be happy to play you. I think my opponent just mistapped their mana. They tapped blue, when I'm pretty sure they want white mana there. Force the Stoneforge. Nope. Now, notably at this point, like, even if I had sequenced my turns better, and, like, not been an idiot on turn 1, like, the fact that I just haven't hit any more lands would have been brutal. Because I always would have gotten, like, the Steam Vents. Go follow up second Stoneforge. They have blue-white floating, but it feels like they're delving, so I'm confused. Oh, it's a Murktide Regent, and they just paid for it improperly. Okay, we're dead. Like, this is just a there were no lands on top of my deck situation. I'm not going to concede yet. Because I guess technically there's some Death Shadow lines that could get interesting, right? Or no, I'm just gonna, like, play it, and then I'm gonna get killed in the air. Yeah, that's inaccurate. Because this just kills me no matter what next turn. Alright. Let's move on. What do we want for this, like, blue-white Delver Blade? I want these Pyroblasts. I guess I technically need to play Fiery Confluence to have an answer to Batterskull? Question mark? I don't know. Maybe I just plan on winning through that. I'm playing another Torpor Orb for Stoneforge Mystic. It's just, like, embarrassing versus my opponent's other threats, though. Likely play Baleful Mastery. I don't think I want to go that route. I don't know. It's an answer to a Germ token on a Cauldra. Ugh. What am I not doing? Am I not doing Force of Will? Yes, I'm not doing Force of Will. I don't know. I just don't like my matchup versus this white removal. Kroxa is going to be impossible to cast, but I have good tools. I think I keep this. Lead on a Thoughtseize. Guess we're taking the Brainstorm. My opponent's hand doesn't do anything, but my hand also doesn't do anything, so there's that. Alright, Flooded Strand. They're cracking it immediately, which either means they're playing around Stifle, or they've got a Ponder, or equivalent as their draw. Or they've got a Delver. Alright, do I want to let my opponent draw a card to take a Delver off of the battlefield? No. I don't. Play an end of turn dress down. Always take one from Delver next turn. Alternatively, I can just like play a Kroxa, let my opponent wasteland me. I think I like end of turn dress down. I mean, I don't like it. I think it's what I'm doing is maybe more accurate. I guess I could have alternatively gone for end of my opponent's turn dress down, play Kroxa, but like that's just so bad. Like that's putting in work to make my bad card bad into efficient removal. I don't think that's really viable. This makes my opponent's card selection a little bit worse. This can be a basic mountain. Guess that's what we're doing. And I can't play Kroxa next turn, because this. I could stifle this trigger, but again, like, there's Swords to Plowshares in hand. I will absolutely stifle that land, I think. It at least forces them to use white mana on their turn. So you can discard a card. Alright, the Wasteland is gone. Which is nice, because that means this Volcanic Island is now a live card. Opponent has 2 pieces of removal there, both of which answer this Kroxa. And I have the sad removal spell, Baleful Mastery. Sure, Ponder's fine. I'm gonna try not to use this on this Delver, because, like, the follow-up things that can happen are just so much worse, but I might not be in the position where I actually have that option. Alright, do I want to dress down right now? I can dress down into Thoughtseize, I can dress down into a Dreadnought. I can also just cast this as a sad 4-mana spell. I know my opponent is playing Daze in their deck, but I also know 2 of the 3 cards in their hand. I think I accept that. And just take out one of the Delvers. Okay. In theory, I can play a Kroxa next turn and take some cards out of my opponent's hand while getting beaten to death by Delver. So this brings me to 10. Life's pretty scary. Sure. By tapping out for 4 mana to answer a Delver without giving my opponent a card, I've opened up a window where they can play a Stoneforge. That hasn't happened, and they haven't fetched away this stuff either. EI. Better to play EI or Kroxa. EI is the better card. I think I need to look for answers to this Delver. I'm currently playing this around Spell Pierce and Flusterstorm type cards. So it's Hydroblast instead. Do I want to play Dress Down in an attempt to draw into a 1-mana spell of some kind that I can play? I think so. I don't know, like, that opens me up worse to Stoneforge. Maybe I can't do that. Yeah, maybe I just can't do that. Brainstorm's fine. I'm not gonna forget about Kroxa. I will cantrip in response to that. It technically uses Stifle on it. Alright, that's fine. EI is an okay card to draw in this spot. Again, though, like, if I'm casting EIs, I absolutely don't have mana to get Kroxa back, and, like, there's real tension here. I think I want to take a shock land out of my deck here. Probably Steam Vents. That gives me all of my colors after I cast an EI. That's technically a thing I can do. I think I try to do better than that. Like, I boarded in a bunch of Pyroblasts. Okay. Guess I'll put a Kroxa into my hand. Tarn's not really great here. Send the Tarn away. Put Deluge to exile. Play Otawara. Cast a Deluge for X's 2. Attempt to take out the Delver. Daze wrecks me. Gonna go to 1 from this attack. Again, the power gulf between Kroxa and Uro is absolutely astounding. I'm at 1. And I am dead. GG. Okay, I will be keeping this hand. We can play a Thoughtseize on 1, dress down on my opponent's end step on turn 2, and have a turn 3 Phyrexian Dreadnought with a little bit of disruption. Alright, here we go. Thoughtseize you. Okay, we are playing against Blue-Red Delver. I probably need to take this Force of Will if I'm going to attempt to win this game via Phyrexian Dreadnought in a somewhat reasonable fashion. So right now, I look like a combo deck, so my opponent is potentially incentivized to like ponder this turn or hold up Brainstorm this turn rather than immediately to play a threat, which is something that I want to happen. So we'll pass the turn here with the intention of playing the end of turn dress down into Dreadnought. If it doesn't work, we're still working towards a Toxic Deluge on 2 copies of Dragon Rage Channeler, and that's certainly not a bad thing. So there's the first one. And it looks like my opponent is going to play out both. Oh, nope. Okay, they're going to go with Ponder. This is going to be 3 card types in graveyard when this is done resolving. That is a Shuffle. Attempt end of turn dress down, which I expect will resolve. Oh. Scumbag Kroxa might actually do something for a change. Hot damn. Let's shock with Steam Vents. Attempt a Kroxa. It has resolved. Let's see if we get our second threat dazed. I'm fine if that is the case, because like I don't have a future window to do this. Okay. I've got a Kroxa. It's not like that's amazing, like, that's very beatable. I played them out in the order that I did, so that if one of them was going to get Force of Willed, it was the Kroxa and not the Phyrexian Dreadnought. But I really want the Dreadnought in play in case this happens, because Kroxa does not beat Murktide Regent. So I probably have to attack in with the Kroxa and then attempt to clear Murktide Regent with Toxic Deluge, and then hope to bring Kroxa back later. But this is very unimpressive. Alright, there goes a Dragon Rage Channeler. We have gotten the block that we're looking for. Damage happens. Play a fetch land. With only 2 card types in graveyard, it seems fine to just play this for X's 1 to finish off the Murktide. See if it works. Gotta be Force of Will blue card. I beat Daze. Alright, cool. Cast Expressive Iteration. Oh, okay, cool. I think I'm holding this Polluted Delta in play, because I don't know whether or not I need it to damage me or not damage me. There's no shuffle there into a Dragon Rage Channeler. That's fine. Now this is Brainstorm, I guess looking for Force of Will blue card for the Kroxa that's about to happen. 1, 2, 3, 4 in graveyard, besides Kroxa. The Polluted Delta is the 5th one that I need. This is probably not actually going to damage me. My draw is Death Shadow. Alright, my opponent has successfully turned this into a 3-3. I go check on my cat, sorry. Okay, sorry, my cat was making sad cat noises. I think I will shock myself with this. Just lower my life total. Gets me to 12 for the purposes of making a future Death Shadow good. This costs me my entire graveyard. I've got a Kroxa with Force of Will backup. Hopefully that's good enough. Ate a Ponder there. I'm not willing to fire off the Force of Will on a Ponder quality card. I might on like an Expressive iteration. I just would kind of like to draw a card for my turn, find a different blue card so that I can cast Expressive iteration and go from there. Okay, so I'm going to get to Force of Will, a Murktide Regent, and my Force of Will always resolves. That's nice. Force Pitch EI, and then Kroxa will take whatever the last card is out of my opponent's hand. Okay, Kroxa has officially won a game of Magic for the first time ever. What an accomplishment. Okay. Pyroblast, reasonable. I don't know about Backlash. Maybe one of those times where like I play the sad Baleful Mastery because Murktide Regent is so horrifying. I just like getting 2 for 1 with Force of Will when I tap out for something like Kroxa is pretty rough when my opponent like has Forces, Dazes, and Pyroblasts that are just operating on a more mana efficient level than what I can operate at. I think I'm okay becoming a little bit more removal dense. I could also play Leylines. What am I doing if I play Leylines? Am I like removing Thoughtseize? How does this game look if I play it like this? I'm a little bit worse at playing Death Shadow. I'm trying to win with Kroxa and Dreadnought mostly. And Death Shadow becomes a thing that I just can do. And I get Plague Engineer in if I do it this way. Over maybe Lazav. Do this. And then, would I prefer a Dress Down or a Torpor Orb? Yeah, I prefer Torpor Orb. It's weird though, because maybe it's not that weird. Alright, transformational deck. Leyline Hate deck, let's go. It's so weird that I like look at this hand of 3 expressive iterations and I'm just kind of disappointed. I'm going to keep it, but I don't really feel like this is a good hand. My mana's not set up so that I can play basics to play around Wasteland in the early game, and if I get Wastelanded, I'm taken off of 4 cards in my hand. So, like, that's a thing. Stifle on my opponent's second land is significantly worse than Stifle on their first. Okay. That's a start. I would absolutely Stifle a land in this turn cycle now. Very, very, very happily. Flips to a Brainstorm. A Lightning Bolt worth of damage to deal with every turn. And hopefully, like, hit a fetch land in this turn cycle. And potentially, like, bait out a Daze or something by doing so. Yep. Opponent was smart and didn't fetch on their own turn, though. So they have, air quotes, wasted my mana. Oh, they just like the cards that are in their hand. Fuck. Oh, that's so bad for me. Yeah, so that's kind of what I get for trying to play this Stifle game. I have wasted 2 turns worth of mana trying to make this card work when my opponent just played around it. Okay. There's a thing I can do. So let's fetch. I don't know that I'm actually in the market to get basics here now, because I want to play Underground Sea out this turn. Alright, so let's get Valk and Underground Sea. Play Dreadnought. Attempt to stifle its trigger. Almost certainly have this get countered, and then this paves the way for Toxic Deluge to actually do something next turn. Yeah, that's fine. I was expecting this. Gives my opponent a 2 for 1 with a Pyroblast, which I'm not super happy about, but I don't think I can just jam the Toxic Deluge into Daze there. That just doesn't feel strong to me. I'm down to 10. Uh-huh. Let's see if I eat like a Murktide this turn. I do not. A Swamp. I think I play the Deluge here. Cost me 2 life in order to do so. I hope that this resolves, and then, like, if my opponent plays a Murktide Regent, I try to Expressive Iteration into a Pyroblast to answer that. Again, when I said I wasn't excited about my opening hand that had multiple Expressive Iterations, like, this is why I have to deal with the onboard stuff. And Expressive Iteration is not amazing in the early turns in this deck list. Like, we don't have the baubles and such that some of these other decks have to really put themselves over the top. I think I'm interested in fetching a tapped land here, just to take one of those out of my deck as a potential draw. Let's pick up a Steam Vents here. And we're unsuccessful at doing the marginal thinning. EI eats Pyroblast. My plan is to EI into a Pyroblast. I am not going to play this card around a Daze, because I want to be able to play a land drop off of this if I find one. It was a very bad EI, given circumstances, as, like, I am 1 point away from death. I guess I'll put a Stifle into my hand. Plague Engineer goes to the bottom, Swamp goes to exile. Successfully play a card from exile. I go to 1 from this Murktide Regent. And I am dead to a Lightning Bolt. I left myself with a Stifle so that I can potentially play... That's annoying. I can potentially play a large creature to swing things in my direction. I'll let that connive. I think at this point, I need 2 runners in this next turn cycle. I need 2 removal spells, and I need my opponent to not have a counter spell. I'm at 1. This fetch land is no longer a real card. I don't have Stifle up. The Mystic Sanctuary is lethal. In case you don't know how this works, Murktide Regent, whenever an instant or sorcery leaves your graveyard, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So that is the lethal damage here. Okay. So Ledger Shredder means that my opponent is a little less all in on the graveyard, but this is still probably reasonable. I think I'm okay with my overall game plan as far as, like, the cards that I have go. I just think I'm the weaker deck here by a lot. A lot. Yes? I think that's a yes. I start with a Leyline in play. I fetch and shock myself immediately for, like, blue-black mana off Watery Grave. And I'm holding up Stifle for my opponent's first fetch land or wasteland. Okay, they naturally have a Volcanic Island. Not the end of the world. Dragon Rage Channeler is a scry machine. I have a Brainstorm. Is this a card that I want to cast here? Not a card that I really need to cast. Do I have 1 mana removal that can just kill this thing? Not really. Don't have Ponders to hit. Did I board Thoughtseize out? Do I have Thoughtseize? I boarded Thoughtseize out. So the Brainstorm's not actually, like, immediately insane or anything. I think I'll just save it for my opponent's turn then. Although it's possible I'm supposed to Brainstorm on my turn to just make my Stifle better. Okay, opponent just doesn't have fetch lands this game. I take 1 from this attack. Again, is not that big of a deal. I'm fine brainstorming here. I want to get rid of this Dress Down and maybe this Stifle as well. Alright, Stifle is gone. I think I'm comfortable with Dress Down going as well. And then we'll go ahead and fetch and shock again. Probably getting Steam Vents this time. Alright. Have 1 more fetch shock in us. Time for Blood Crypt. We'll attempt a Death Shadow. Now, this is notably a 3/3 right now. It is lightning boltable, but I don't really care about that because I have Reanimate here. EI is very strong. Opponent has junked another Dragon Rage Channeler. Okay. My opponent is just brainstorming here. This is meaning that my Death Shadow is making it around the table, which is nice. Meltdown is now in exile, making a future Phyrexian Dreadnought slightly better. And obviously no attack from the Dragon Rage Channeler. Oh, that's interesting. I think the Toxic Deluge is my safety net, so I don't think I want to mess around with casting that right now, especially when my opponent just has 7 cards. Maybe supposed to play the other Death Shadow pre-combat, because my opponent counters it, and I do end up reanimating it. I get a little bit more damage. I was supposed to fetch there. I was just finishing my thought. Alright, there's another Death Shadow. And we're chilling. Resolves. They're gonna be fucking filthy. So how crazy do I want to go with this Toxic Deluge? If I go too crazy and my opponent counters it, it's actually really bad for me. I probably should just do it for 1. Yeah, let's go conservative here. So this is going to dodge the Pyroblast type stuff. It's going to dodge the Dazes and Spell Pierces. It's just Force of Will specifically that it does not dodge. So I am theoretically swinging in for 10 damage, but it's really only 4 damage. Oh, I guess 5. Can't really do anything with this Reanimate. I think I'm losing this one. We'll see, though. So do I hit my opponent for 5 here? Or do I just hit him for 4? I think I go for the 5. It doesn't change the clock versus True Name Nemesis specifically. Blue, blue, black, black, red, red. I'm covered on all axes there. Let's just get more blue mana. Opponent goes to 10. By fetching to 8, my opponent can attempt to just 2-turn me. I can hold back if that happens. Guy is very good here. This is one of those scenarios where, like, my leyline is working against me because I can't use the reanimate on some of my opponent's stuff. I don't know, maybe I could have gone a little bit deeper on life for the Toxic Deluge. I don't know, I can also just, like, draw an EI or something like that. I'm just totally good. Okay, that's annoying. That means that my opponent can attack out and then have a blocker. Oh man, my Kingdom for Plague Engineer right now. Holy shit. Alright. I am being attacked for 3. I need something here. That is not something. So I can attack, and both of my creatures have to be blocked. Because either one of them is lethal. So my opponent can put 2 Dragon Rage Channelers in front of my creatures, and then if they flip Delver, they win. And if they don't flip Delver, it's interesting. Get in there. Okay, yeah, they saw the line, so I don't have to fetch. Delver flips, I'm dead. Do I want to play a Leyline? I don't think so. I think I'd rather hold this for a Brainstorm. Alright, Scumbag Delver. Oh. Oh, I still just can be dead to Lightning Bolt. I successfully hold both creatures back. That's a very good sign for me. Nice. Alright, I haven't drawn an EI this game yet. I'm due. Give me one. My opponent's found 2. Oh boy. I am in a, like, Schrodinger's dead situation where I may or may not be alive if I cast a spell. I attack with both of these. Delver chump blocks, and I just don't cast anything. It's non-creature, right? It is non-creature. Send them. Yep, the blocks are obligatory. Alright. Still alive somehow. Guess I'll play this land drop. Like, I've got stuff to throw back for a Brainstorm as of right now. Dragon Rage Channeler keeps my opponent alive for another turn. I can't see a reason to play that, but I also can't see a reason not to play that. I'm already beyond dead to something like Price of Progress. Send them. Well, this game is interesting, if nothing else. I'll give it that. This wasn't just one of the brain dead games where I just died to my opponent playing a Murktide Region on turn 3. Okay. Oh shit. Alright, I'm at 2. You have it? We have gotten the GG from my opponent. I respect it. Ugh, that was a slog of a last match. Okay, and so we managed to put together a 2-3 finish to the league, which honestly I'm happy about given that this deck list is pretty questionable, and let's talk about some of the problems with it. The biggest one is that it's playing Kroxa. Like, this is just not a legacy power level card. The gulf between this and Uro is very large. Like, Uro draws you a card and gains you 3 life. Kroxa makes your opponent discard a card or lose 3 life. And the difference between the and or like that or there is very huge. And in this format of Caracas, in this format where like Prismatic Ending and Swords to Plowshares exist, this is just not a reasonable Magic the Gathering card to play. And like I've been asked again and again and again to try to make this card work on the channel, and every time like the answer is still like, yes, Kroxa is still bad. Like no matter how I've tried to support it, like the card just doesn't do work. In terms of other stuff going on with the deck list, like, I think Phyrexian Dreadnought got significantly worse after the printing of Prismatic Ending. Like, it used to be that even the blue decks that could answer this card maybe had, like, 6 answers to it in the 75, right? Like, 4 Swords of Plowshares and then maybe, like, 2 Council Judgments in the sideboard or something like that. Maybe some Jace or something else as well. But now, like, you're expecting something closer to 4 main deck Swords of Plowshares and 4 main deck Prismatic Endings when you're dealing with a Bant deck, or at least something in that general ballpark. Not to mention some other random things like Meltdown out of the sideboard or whatever are also going to be answering it as well. So I just don't think spending the resources on trying to make Stifle, Dress Down, Phyrexian Dreadnought work is going to be good. And in trying to support this shell, you play a lot of things that are not singularly powerful on their own. And when we played against the initiative, like, we saw the difference, right? Like, I am trying to pay a total of 6 mana and exile 5 cards from my graveyard to make a 6/6, whereas my opponent is going to spend 3 mana to make a 3/3 that becomes a 5/5 while also snowballing in other directions. Ultimately, I feel like this deck is just working too hard. And I also think the sideboard is just trying to get cute. Like, it's just, the sideboard is not playing objectively good Magic the Gathering cards. It's trying to play either these flexible cards or these incredibly powerful but situational sideboard cards. And I just felt like that left me in a mediocre position as far as sideboarding goes in a bunch of my matches. Like, having general cards or general high power cards, I think, is better than this. Like, maybe I can't be playing, like, Meltdown specifically because, like, I do have my own artifacts that I care about. But, like, I wasn't overly excited about, like, Fiery Confluence, for example. Like, I don't think I boarded in Backlash. I didn't board in Hurkyl's Recall. I could have boarded in this and didn't. And, like, Agadeem's Awakening as, like, another land is unexciting. Or, sorry, like, Agadeem the Undercrypt as another land that I can board in is pretty unexciting. And I don't know, like, trying to play this as an end game card to return a bunch of stuff from my graveyard. Like, I don't think that's good when the control decks are on white removal. So, like, my cards are going to exile anyway. So this one gets a thumbs down from me, but, like, I knew from the deck design point that, like, I was not going to like this deck. So, like, there's that. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot. I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya.